Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Google Ads Talk Show, and as per usual I've got Josh in studio with me. How's it, bud?
How's it? Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure, man. In this episode we're going to get straight to it. We want to talk about Google Performance Max. What is it? How does it work? It's been out for how long now? A year and a half or?
Yeah, I think just over 2 years.
Oh, is it that long already?
Yeah.
Wow. So over 2 years it's been out. A lot of people have their own opinion on whether it's working or not. Some say yes, some say no. We're going to touch on what it is, how it works, and if you wanted to go about it, what should you consider? Because it might not be for everybody. Some brands might be losing money by experimenting with it. Some might be, doing the best thing that they probably can for their business. So therefore, we want to unpack all the different nuances in this episode. Josh, best place to start would maybe just be to explain what Google Performance Max is, how it's different to the traditional campaign types on Google, and let's take it from there.
Yeah, so Performance Max, it's a campaign type that is made up of multiple campaigns. So it does comprise of search, shopping, display, YouTube, discover. So it is kind of like a all-in-one campaign type. So there's a lot of reasons as to or pros as to why you should set up a Performance Max campaign as opposed to setting up all of those campaigns up individually. The argument, I'd say, in terms of setting them up individually is that you've got more control, in terms of managing and optimizing those campaigns. Whereas with Performance Max, yes, it is easier and quicker to set up compared to those campaigns. But you're very limited in terms of where that budget does get allocated between all those campaign types. You might want more of your budget to go towards shopping, for example. There are ways to control that. We have ways that we can control that. But other than that, it's just very limited in terms of what you can also optimize in that campaign. Google is getting better at giving you more insight into what is working in the Performance Max campaign. So that is improving as the months go by. So that is a positive thing about Performance Max. But again, if you go about wanting to set up a campaign within Google, particularly shopping, they definitely nudge you towards rather creating a Performance Max campaign as opposed to shopping.
Why is that? Just because of what?
Well, my personal theory is that, let's say you were to set up a shopping campaign and you've decided you want to allocate 100 Rand per day towards that campaign, and depending on various reasons, search volume, that you don't actually spend that full 100 Rand per day. Google can see that you've got the money. You want to spend that 100 Rand per day, but it's not happening unless you've got someone on the account and notices and, obviously make some changes to that. But, if you've kind of just left it there and you're not spending that full daily budget,
they're losing money, basically.
They're losing money. They're like, flip, we're leaving money on the table. Whereas with Performance Max, if you're not spending your full budget on shopping or search, they say, okay, cool, let's get some display ads running just to ensure you spend that money. So it's a very clever way of them, in my opinion, to get all that money.
But there's two sides to that coin. Yeah. One, they extract more money from what's actually available in the account. And two, the algorithm is improving, which means people are getting better results across the board, I want to assume. But I think to conclude, the main difference is that the performance campaign, from what I'm hearing you say, encompasses all the different types of campaign types.
Correct. Yes.
Are there any campaign types that are not included in Performance Max, or does it really include all of the different versions or types of campaigns you can run?
Yeah, I'm 100% sure it encompasses every single campaign type.
So number one, it includes all the different campaign types for you, so you don't really have to think as much about where to spend the money.
Correct.
Google's going to decide where to spend the money. So it takes a lot of the thinking work away from you. And it's also safe to assume that they use their own algorithm to determine where to spend that money. Now, the question is that algorithm really trained as efficiently as it should be to understand your customer, your budget, and what's going to make it profitable for you in order to get a sale? We can argue that it's not that sophisticated yet, and that's why some companies really struggle with Performance Max. But there are also a lot of companies who praise Performance Max and think it's the best thing ever, which we can touch on in a second. So just to distinguish the main difference between the two, with the traditional campaigns, you're going to have to set them up yourself, manage them yourself, manage budgets, move budgets around yourself, and really put some brain power to be in a position where you can decide where to put more money, where to spend less money, and so forth. Performance Max does all of that for you. It leverages the algorithm to spend the money. But what you're also saying is there's the theory of, well, sometimes the search campaigns or the shopping campaigns might not get enough impressions, so they would be like, well, we still got budget left, so just put it into display just to spend that money and hope for the best. We don't know what if that's true or not, but we have a good authority that often money can be wasted in some way, shape, or form. So we understand the difference. Can we talk about instances where it's not working well? Let's maybe highlight some instances where it is working well, and then we can dive into what kind of budgets is necessary in order to get results, and so forth.
Yes, I mean, with Performance Max, it does sound like it's a very AR done for you kind of campaign, which it is to an extent, but I would almost describe it as a hybrid. And the reason for that is because Google has at least given you the opportunity to give them what they call an audience signal. So, and there's various ways as to how you can give them that signal, which essentially is just giving them some sort of guiding point, which does encompass all those different campaign types as to who to serve your ad to. It's not compulsory that you need to add an audience signal. And we do often, when we do our audits, we come across Performance Max campaigns that have been set up and they have no signal. So you can imagine as to how that budget was spent by Google.
How would the signal work though? Like, if you're saying there's no signal, how would you go about putting or adding a signal?
So there is an option on how you can add the signal, and there is a few different ways. You can either give them keywords to actually target. You can give them audiences to actually go after, and then you do also have control as to what kind of demographics are seeing the ads.
So you can almost like point them in the right direction.
Correct.
That's what you're saying.
It's giving them just a bit of a guideline as to who you would like to direct your ads to. Again, there's also a way that you can give them your remarketing audiences. That's going to give them a really good guide as to who to serve your ads to. So as much as can
you upload customer lists and stuff like that or not?
You can, yes.
Okay.
No, you can upload a customer list and use that. And then, as I mentioned, there's also audiences, there's search terms. You can even add in your competitors' websites. Nice. So users who frequently visit those sites as some sort of audience signal. But again, with all of this, you are relying on Google, which compared to your other campaign types, you've got a lot more manual control as to where your budget is being spent.
Yeah, we want to assume that Google has our best interest at heart.
Yeah.
But there might be the odd occasion throughout the holidays and depending on search volumes and auction competitiveness and so forth, where they're just spending the money for the sake of spending it, because that's how the algorithm is technically programmed for Performance Max campaigns. The other question I have in my mind is, what kind of businesses does it work well for, and are there specific industries or categories of companies that it probably doesn't work as well for? Like, can anybody go and run a Performance Max campaign and see results, or do you think there are certain businesses within certain industries that probably have a higher likelihood of seeing good results?
Definitely. So, I mean, if you were to use it for e-commerce or lead generation, obviously when Performance Max did come out, we obviously wanted to test it out for ourselves instead of relying on other information saying, no, it only works, for e-commerce. So we did test it out within reason as well. We don't necessarily like to just throw a lot of budgets in terms of doing testing as well. So, I mean, of all the 100+ accounts that we have worked on, again, there are anomalies in this, but I can safely say that Performance Max, it does work well with e-commerce specifically. With lead generation, great at generating quantity of leads, but the quality of those leads are usually questionable.
Really?
So that's what we have found just in terms of practical terms. But again, we do have a few lead gen accounts where we've tried Performance Max and it's generating leads and the client is happy with the quality of leads. So in that case, it's best. In theory, it shouldn't be working based in our experience, but if it's not broken, then don't fix it.
So it's safe to assume that in general, e-commerce businesses might have naturally a higher success rate, purely because of the fact that there's, I suppose, an e-commerce business probably has a lot more data behind it as well in terms of all the different product pages it's got and so forth. So there's most likely more information to, this is complete theory, but if you've got 20 products on your store, each product, if you look at every single page in itself, and the algorithm is obviously leveraging that, I'm assuming, to go find people, there's maybe more information to be used in order to go find the right people for you. That's a theory that pops up into my head. I don't know if that's true or not. But the other thing is, on a lead gen side, maybe if you were getting crappy leads, you can tweak your filtering process on the website a bit better in order to ensure that the people who do actually end up pressing submit have been filtered by specific questions that you're asking. So how would you go about optimize? Hypothetically, if you were generating leads through a Performance Max campaign, what would be the best way to optimize the campaign? Can you actually optimize the Performance Max campaign, and how would that look like on a surface level? Or is it better to go about probably tweaking the site a little bit more in order to make sure that the people who are on the site and spending their time on it, actually, when they do press submit, there's a higher intent behind it and a better quality lead on the other side?
Yes, like I mentioned, optimizing Performance Max is limited. There are certain things that you can optimize within it, that being your location targeting, your ad schedule. Those are kind of the main two, and that's if you're using it for lead generation, because if you are doing lead generation, you're not going to be able to make use of a merchant center. We do have actually a few businesses that we work with that almost come across as an e-commerce website, but the reason that we would classify them as lead generation is because of the fact that they have high ticket items where users don't typically
want quotes.
They want quotes. It's a product that's maybe 100K. They're not just going to simply add it to cart and check out. There might be cases of people doing that, but still, for the vast majority, the site and the business, they know that it is better to quote. They want to talk to someone over the phone, for example. So in that case, a merchant center and utilizing it within Performance Max does have its case there. But I think the main reason as to why Performance Max would work better for e-commerce compared to lead generation, again, is to think what campaign types does it encompass. For e-commerce, we have noticed for Performance Max, or there is that way that we can actually push Performance Max to do more shopping. Whereas with lead generation, if you don't have a merchant center and you're not doing shopping, what campaigns does it encompass? Search, display, YouTube, and discovery. So what is it going to do more of? Especially if it's a lead generation industry where there's limited search volume.
Probably going to push that budget
they're
to
going to
display.
push that, exactly. So
that's usually weaker quality traffic.
Precisely. So that's why if you are in the lead generation space, like I've said, that shopping and e-commerce kind of go hand in hand. Search, good old traditional search and lead generation, they go hand in hand.
Yeah,
So,
the good old.
The good old, yeah.
The good old traditional search campaigns.
Yeah.
And in terms of budget, let's talk about that, and we can just round off with talking about what kind of budget is needed in order to get a Performance Max campaign to run at optimal levels. Because I know it is a bit more than your traditional type of campaigns, because there's more places where you have to show the ad. The algorithm is going to take longer to learn and so forth.
Yeah.
What kind of budget are you looking at per day that can make a Performance Max campaign work for you?
To be honest with you, Google will almost always give a notification on the campaign to say limited by budget.
Okay.
So whether you have put 100 Rand per day or 1,000 Rand per day, there is always going to be a way that Google can get you to spend more budget.
Yeah.
But a good rule of thumb is if you are going to run a Performance Max campaign, especially if you've got a limited budget, just put the majority into that campaign, just because of the fact that it encompasses all those different campaign types. But again, I would. It does depend on the industry and the business.
Sure.
So it is difficult to put a specific number on it.
So as a blanket vanilla statement, gun to your head, what kind of daily budget? 300 Rand a day minimum or more?
Yeah, 200, 300 Rand a day is probably a good starting point.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're looking at investing 10 grand a month on this, hoping it works, but there's no guarantee that it will. But
Exactly.
You can't really get away with less than that.
Yeah.
Okay. So for small to medium-sized businesses who are testing this out, it's safe to assume that for a company that only has 10 grand a month, and there are many of them out there who's got, I think majority of small to medium-sized businesses have between, if they're lucky, 5 to 10, maybe 15 grand a month. So it's safe to assume that Performance Max campaigns are more, applicable for businesses who are already established and has got a decent amount of money to invest in their marketing.
No, definitely. Again, like, especially in terms of like not just having one campaign type. You're not just going to have one shopping campaign or one search campaign. You're going to have multiple. So there's no rule to say that you only need to have one Performance Max campaign. You could even be very granular with the type of audience signal that you give Google, and then again have multiple Performance Max campaigns, all focusing on perhaps different parts of the business, different categories, for example. So yeah, there's a lot of ways that you can make use of Performance Max.
Cool, man. I think from my side, is there a last piece of advice for anybody who's listening or watching on the other side of this video? They're sitting there going, I've always wanted to try this. Is there a single piece of advice that they can take away that can allow them to see a bigger return on their investment?
Have conversion tracking in place. Okay. Performance Max makes use of a maximize conversions or maximize conversions value bidding strategies, where from there you can actually set a target cost per acquisition or a target ROAS. But without any conversion tracking in place, you're just making it incredibly difficult.
Just flying blind.
You're essentially flying blind because, as I said, those are the only two bidding strategies that you can choose for Performance Max. And if you don't have conversion tracking in place, which is we've seen a lot of it, especially when auditing accounts. There's just no tracking in place or inaccurate tracking. So that is probably my last piece of advice for someone that is going to run Performance Max. And in addition to that, don't let the title fool you.
Yes, it's not always as Performance Max as you want it to be.
No, not at all.
Just concluding what you were saying there, I think it was very powerful. By not having the conversion tracking on the site, what I'm hearing you say is that you are hindering the algorithm for doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Correct. Yeah.
So you literally saying, hey, I want to try out this expensive mechanism that could potentially help me grow my business, which is Performance Max, but you increasing the risk of it not working by not having the tracking on it. And it's already a risky thing to test.
No, exactly. And the tracking is at least something that's pretty... usually pretty easy to set up.
Yeah.
Some cases there might be some nuances for various reasons, but in most cases that's pretty straightforward.
Awesome, man. I love that. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciated that. And if there was value on the other side of this video, then I want to encourage you to like and subscribe and follow our channel for more. Much love in the meantime. Have a good one. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.